I am very excited to have my next guest join us. She just dropped her debut EP called We Speak of Tides. It is Azaya. There she is. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you very much. How are you?
I am fantastic. I was talking to some friends actually just earlier today about how I've slowly kicked the habit of going onto TikTok first thing in the morning. But I do want to have a caveat in that you were part of those wonderful early mornings that I got to see a video from you. And I want to thank you for that.
Hey, I would love to say that I had intention in that, but that's all the algorithms, man. So glad, I'm glad.
Are you a avid TikTok person? Are you always on there? What is your habit like?
I think for me, initially it was quite interesting because like the music I was making and am making, I'm like heavily inspired by a lot of like guitar bands and like indie music. And at first I felt like it wasn't like true to the sort of music I was making, I think. But then I think like on reflection, I was like, as long as I'm like true to who I am and like what I'm doing, if people like it, they like it. If they don't, like, it's obviously not for me. And I think going on there and like just literally playing the same music that I was playing on like Instagram or whatever, or like what I was writing, and people were like responding to it really well. I guess for me was like, okay, cool. Like I don't have like you don't have to be dancing on this app for people to be interested and want to like support you, and I think that's really cool. I think it's just a sign of the times, and you can like either roll with it or not. Either way is cool.
And it's so crazy that a lot of kids today are learning about artists like yourself and others on TikTok. What was it like for you? How did you discover music when you were young, or what were your earliest memories?
I feel like my earliest memories are probably like being in the car, like being driven to, like, we call it primary school. And I was probably like 10 and maybe younger. I think I was probably like probably even 7. And like my parents would put on like System of a Down, um and I would like thrash out to like BYOB, or like hearing, I think, like No Doubt for the first time, and then deciding that I was like only gonna wear black and like have like wristbands on. Do you remember like do you remember Emily the Strange? That kind of like that
No.
kind it was this brand that did like really like emo sort of, it was like this one girl who was really emo, and I just remember like wanting to be that little animation when I was a kid.
So you grew up with the cool mom. What was informing her musical taste as she was growing up? And is she a musician too?
I think this is the thing, right? Is like because she was like listening to like Tribe Called Quest and like The Onyx and like Nuyorican Soul, but then also listening to like System of a Down and like obviously the gods, which are like Nirvana and but then also like Patti Smith. And so she just had like this really like vast knowledge and like love of music, and she's not in music or anything like that, but there would just be all this music being played in the house. And I think I'm looking back on it so grateful, because I probably would have been one of those people that listened to the charts and that was it. But I think just having that exposure to it kind of made me feel like there wasn't like this barrier of like certain sounds that I couldn't listen to, or because at the end of the day, like, strip back a System of a Down track and it's like it's super catchy. Like, it's at the end of the day it's like a very catchy song. And so for me it's like, if the melodies are sick, if the lyrics are cool, like that intrigues me. It can be a heavy metal track, it could be a soul track, it doesn't matter.
Now, this EP that you just dropped, so many great songs on there. I don't think there's enough, but I mean, I know it's an EP. We were just talking about
Yeah.
family, and one of the standouts is Blood, in which
Yeah.
seems very personal. How autobiographical is that song? I mean, it feels like you were really let down by somebody.
Yeah, I mean, that song is about family. I think for me, and a particular family member actually. And I think writing this song really like helped with the like cathartic sort of, it was really cathartic for me, really. Like the process enabled me to kind of work out what I needed to say to this person that I love dearly, just through writing about it first and singing a song that the like everyone else could hear. I could work out what I needed to say to them like internally, and like now we're closer than ever, which is like awesome. But I think even though it has a personal sort of aspect for me, ideally I wanted it to be a universal song that anyone could relate to, because everyone goes through periods with like family or really close loved ones who aren't necessarily family but are big parts of their lives, where you can't really like get through to them, and you love them so much and you know they love you, but there's just this weird sort of like interim of not being able to understand that person, and just being really confused at why that is, because surely there's a love there. I think it just topped it off because we were actually family, so it was like me screaming like, we're literally blood related, like come on, like let's support each other. But yeah, I'm glad I've written that song, and like it's all, yeah.
And has the person heard the song? Have you worked out the issues? Did they understand your point of view?
Do you know what? They will never know it's about them, but like naturally, like just speaking to them about it, like we actually resolved the like issue, like, and they don't even know it's about them. So yeah, and it's gonna, I don't think anyone know, like any song I've written about someone, they don't know it's about them. I feel like I want to keep it that way.
Is it fair to say that there's extra material that was created for the EP that didn't make it and perhaps could be molded into something for the future, for another collection of music?
You can definitely say that for sure. Yeah.
And what about the lyrical content? I know we're running out of time here, but in terms of the things that have been going on in society, the world, obviously 2020 was such a life-altering year, not only from the health perspective, but also social justice, not only for Black people, then more recently Asian people. And so how do you think those things will affect your songwriting moving forward?
I think moving forward, like it's a really interesting question, because I think initially it's gonna be, and it has been, a lot of like grieving for me, and a lot of like just being like, what the fuck has just happened, like being really overwhelmed by like everything that you've just explained. So, and I think I find it quite hard because I want to write about these sort of situations in like quite a sensitive light and from my perspective, and I even link it back to like lockdown and stuff like that. I think I couldn't write about lockdown because I was so overwhelmed by it all. So I think I write all the time. I write lyrics on my phone or like do little voice notes. I think I need some more time to like grieve over, especially the things you were just talking about, before I start writing about them. But I think it will definitely affect my songwriting for sure.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to that, especially taking those influences from System of a Down and just emoting, whether it's anger, sadness, hopefulness, whatever it may be. Serge Tankian always was able to give us that right vibe.
Yeah, I think, and even I wouldn't do it on like a grand scale. I think I always like to bring things to a more like intimate, like internal level. So like whether or not it's a song that's like about someone else, and I kind of like mention, I don't know, Black Lives Matter, or like, I will always like try and relink it to like a smaller situation.
Right. Well, I'm a big fan. Thank you so much for doing this, and best of luck with everything.
Thanks so much. Take care.